Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Kopijana Vallabha Girivara Dadhi Kopijana Vallabha Girivara Dadhi Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnu Prabhupada Parivajikacharya Ashtadhara Shatashi Shrimad Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Seventh Canto, The Science of God, Chapter 4. Hiranyakashipu terrorizes the universe. Text 30. If everybody could please repeat after me. Tasya Daitya Patehe Putrash Chatvaraha Paramad Bhutaha Prarado Bun Mahang Tesham Gunar mahad-guṇāḥ tasya daityapate putrash chatvara paramad-bhutaha prarado bun-mahang stesham gunar mahad-upāṣakaha tasya daityapate putrash chatvara paramad-bhutaha parado bun-mahang stesham Gunar mahad-upashakaha. Tasya daitya pate putrash. Chatvara paramadbhutaha. Prarado bunmaham stesham. Gunar mahad-upashakaha. Okay.
Asya datyapate putrash chatvara parama bhutaha praradobun mahamstesham gunair mahad upasakaha.
Okay, word by word. Tasya, of him. Hiranyakashipu. Daityapatehe, the king of the Daityas. Puttaha, sons. Chatvaraha, 4. Padama adbhutaha, very qualified and wonderful. Paradaha, the one named Prahlad. Abhut was Mahan, the greatest. Tesham, of all of them. Gunai, with transcendental qualities. Mahad-upashakaha, being an unalloyed devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Hiranyakashipu had 4 wonderful, well-qualified sons, of whom the one named Prahlad was the best. Indeed, Prahlad was a reservoir of all transcendental qualities because he was an unalloyed devotee of the Personality of Godhead. Purport. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvar gunas tatra samasta suryaha. In one who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna, all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are consistently manifest. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, Text 12. Prahlad Maharaj is praised herein for having all good qualities because of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, a pure devotee who has no motives has all good qualities, material and spiritual. If one is spiritually advanced, Being a staunch, liberal devotee of the Lord, all good qualities are manifest in his body. On the other hand, harāv abhaktasya kuto mahad-guṇāḥ. If one is not a devotee, even if he has some materially good qualities, they have no value. That is the verdict of the Vedas. Take it in. Yakripatamaham Vande Shri Gurundirithanam Vanchakapadribhishcha Kripasindabhavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhaktivinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, translation again. Hiranyakashipu had 4 wonderful, well-qualified sons, of whom the one named Prahlad was the best. Indeed, Prahlad was a reservoir of all transcendental qualities, because he was an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead. This verse from the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which Srila Prabhupada quotes in his purport, right in the beginning, it can, say, present a, for some, they could, you could say, be disturbed by it, because it's just saying, it's saying that, okay, well, there's Vaishnavas and unalloyed Vaishnava, they have all good qualities, and then the other people, they don't. Yeah, they have no good qualities. Other people, no good qualities. So if someone was to ask you how to explain that, what would you say? We could ask some of the younger devotees to raise their hand.
You're right.
Some of the younger devotees to answer. Yes, Magalila? Yes. Tapas is here, so we have to use the microphone.
Well, because on the material platform, any supposedly good qualities are based on the misconception that I am this body and that the world is meant for me to enjoy. So ultimately, a person who has that outlook can't have any, you could say, like non-selfish qualities, because everything that they do is based on that misconception and based on that kind of selfish philosophy. So ultimately, any good qualities like, and another thing is also, is that even if they may appear to be doing these things, have good things or having good qualities, the good qualities are temporary, because ultimately this kind of like more base nature comes out eventually, because the seed of it is always there in the form of their conception of the world.
Yeah, it's a good point. The base or the nature comes out. Yeah. Does anybody have any other?
Verse, the last line of the verse kind of describes why there are no good qualities. Manoratena sati davato bahi. That the chariot of the mind is always, they're always running on that chariot. So they may do something that looks superficially right, but the next moment the mind is figuring out, well, how can I benefit from it? You know, in other words, there's always that material mind that's coming in and affecting everything. And so, in the most truest sense, there's no good qualities of the kind that that pure devotees have, that real devotees have. That everything they do is selfless. Everything they do is for Krishna. So that's.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Should I ask my question now or later on? I can do either one.
I think later.
I'll ask later.
Okay. Just. So the people, they may, you could say they may be clean, because there's different qualities. Okay, the 26 qualities of a devotee, right? They're listed there. And you could say, well, hey, it seems that some of the people, they have these qualities. It seems like they look pretty clean. You go to their house or wherever. or they're living a clean life, look clean, or poetic, right? There's plenty of poets out there, or kind, right? So they look like they're manifesting these qualities. But a very good point that was brought up by Dravida Prabhu and Moggallila Prabhu is that because they're, as the verse is mentioning, they're on they're on the, you could say, the chariot of the mind, or the material platform, mental platform. At any moment, those qualities can change. They may be kind, but the modes that they're in may change. And then they manifest something else. And I was also bringing up that you could say seed, it's very interesting in the 6th canto, which we've already passed through. The 6th canto mentions that, okay, well, there's, you could say, there's the sinful desires, right? Now, to get rid of those sinful desires is not so easy, but the seed of sinful desires to be burned up. And that's burned up through the process of Krishna consciousness. One becomes purified, and then they don't act on those sinful desires. But for someone who has not been purified by the process of devotional service, then, okay, they may be very good in a number of ways, but the qualities, you could say, of the good qualities they're manifesting, they're not steady. They could change. In other words, they could become completely captured by the modes of material nature. You could say they're in the modes of material nature. Whereas a devotee, as Prabhupada mentions, very staunch, he mentions 2 words, staunch, liberal devotee of the Lord, all good qualities manifest in his body. So when we look at this word staunch, if you look it up in the good old dictionary, one of the definitions given is loyal and committed in attitude. Or also probably use sometimes the word strict. So when we think of strict, like strict in what? Following or conforming to different rules, standards, and so on. Of course, there's staunch and strict is different, but it's, anyways, use that word sometimes. And when we look at the word liberal, broad-minded, tolerant, forgiving, generous, and of course there's, other definitions. So for a staunch and liberal devotee, for devotees to become purified, then these good qualities manifest. Another thing is that sometimes devotees wonder, okay, well, anyways, we'll get into the purport now. There's the purport of the 5th canto, which we'll just take a look at. Prabhupada elaborates. So the verse is, all the demigods and their exalted qualities such as religion, knowledge, and renunciation become manifest in the body of one who has developed unalloyed devotion for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. On the other hand, a person devoid of devotional service and engaged in material activities has no good qualities. Even if he is adept at the practice of mystic yoga or the honest endeavor of maintaining his family and relatives, he must be driven by his own mental speculations and must engage in the service of the Lord's external energy. How can there be any good qualities in such a man? So we'll look at the purport. As explained in the next verse, Krishna is the original source of all living entities. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:7, wherein Krishna says, Mamaya vangsho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha mana sastandindriyani prakritistani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the 6 senses, which include the mind. All living entities are part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore when they revive their original Krishna consciousness, they possess all the good qualities of Krishna in a small quantity. When one engages himself in the 9 processes of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, one's heart becomes purified and he immediately understands his relationship with Krishna. He then revives his original quality of Krishna consciousness. In the Adi Leela of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 8, there is a description of some of the qualities of devotees. For example, Sri Pandit Haridas is described as being very well behaved, tolerant, peaceful, magnanimous, and grave. In addition, he spoke very sweetly, his endeavors were very pleasing, he was always patient, he respected everyone, he always worked for everyone's benefit, his mind was free of duplicity, and he was completely devoid of all malicious activities. These are all originally qualities of Krishna, and when one becomes a devotee, they automatically become manifest. Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, says that all good qualities become manifest in the body of a Vaishnava, and that only by the presence of these good qualities can one distinguish a Vaishnava from a non-Vaishnava. Krishnadas Kaviraj lists the following 26 good qualities of a Vaishnava. Right. 1, he is very kind to everyone. 2, he does not make anyone his enemy. 3, he is truthful. 4, he is equal to everyone. 5, no one can find any fault in him. 6, he is magnanimous. 7, he is mild. 8, he is always clean. 9, he is without possessions. 10, he works for everyone's benefit. 11, he is very peaceful. 12, he is always surrendered to Krishna. 13, he has no material desires. 14, he is very meek. 15, he is steady. 16, he controls his senses. 17, he does not eat more than required. 18, he is not influenced by the Lord's energy. 19, he offers respect to everyone. 20, he does not desire any respect for himself. 21, he is very grave. 22, he is merciful. 23, he is friendly. 24, he is poetic. 25, he is expert. 26, he is silent. So those are the good qualities, the 26 good qualities that manifest in someone who has become purified by the process of devotional service. And we see these good qualities are manifest in Srila Prabhupada, our local Siddhanta Prabhu. He has been working on this series of, you could say, videos, in which he picks a particular remembrance of Srila Prabhupada, given by one of his disciples, Srila Prabhupada's disciples, and that remembrance will display or will show how Srila Prabhupada demonstrated a particular one of the 26 qualities. And then him and another devotee, they will elaborate further, speak on that. So we see that Prabhupada very much to the highest degree displayed these qualities. And it's important that we meditate on how Srila Prabhupada practically demonstrated showed us these qualities, means by his behavior, so we could try to follow in his footsteps. So one thing is to read Srila Prabhupada's books and listen to his lectures. It's very important. Another thing is to read about Srila Prabhupada and meditate on him and his activities, because we see that we will see practically how he applied the philosophy in day-to-day life by reading about him and hearing about him. And hopefully the idea is that by associating with him in that way, we will learn how to apply the philosophy in a day-to-day life. And also, you could say, we hope that those good qualities will rub off on us. Like Prabhupada's quality of compassion, for example. now there's different, you could say, pastimes that you could bring up that demonstrates Prabhupada's quality of compassion or kindness or, yeah, mercy. So it's nice to be able to, you could say, if someone was to ask you, okay, you tell me practically how Prabhupada demonstrated the quality of kindness. It's very good if we could have some pastime in our mind which we could say immediately. We should have many of them in our mind. So for example, many times devotees bring up the point, His Holiness Tamal Krishna Goswami would bring it up quite often, because it was an exchange that he had with Srila Prabhupada, in which Prabhupada was displaying his quality of compassion. And what happened is, they were in India at the time, Tamal Krishna Goswami and Srila Prabhupada, and the temple president of the Calcutta temple called and wanted to speak with Prabhupada, and the temple president was complaining about one devotee. And the devotee was smoking ganja. And the temple president was very disturbed about it. So Prabhupada told the temple president of the Calcutta temple, he said, you should tell that devotee that if he doesn't give up smoking ganja, I'm going to reject him. And then Prabhupada left it at that. So then, hang up the phone, and then Tamal Krishna Goswami asked Prabhupada, is that true? Will you really reject him? And then Prabhupada said, no. And he said, the mercy of Lord Nityananda is unlimited. Now, just as apichet sarirachayo could be used as an excuse, you think, okay, well, great. There you go. Prabhupada's merciful and I could do whatever I want. But the meaning is that Prabhupada never gives up on the person. The person may fail and fail again and keep on failing, but the hope's always there and the mercy is always there. Srila Prabhupada's mercy is always there that the person could take. That's the idea. So anyways, we could go through all these qualities, and we could think of so many different pastimes when Srila Prabhupada demonstrated these qualities. Also, Satsrup Das Goswami, he wrote a book, The 26 Qualities of a Vaishnava, in which he wrote how Srila Prabhupada demonstrated these qualities. But yeah, it's very interesting that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and Srila Prabhupada in this purport, they put so much emphasis on it, that these qualities must be there as a distinguishing factor. Okay, there's materialists and there's devotees, and of course, out of all the good qualities that are listed, this quality is most important, the quality of being surrendered to Krishna. And from that quality, we surrender to Krishna, and then all the other qualities come. Just as from being inattentive in chanting of Hare Krishna, all the other offenses flourish. So similarly, by surrendering to Krishna, all these qualities naturally manifest in a devotee. So yeah, and practically we see that this will be tested. There's these 26 qualities. I mean, Prabhupada thought they were so important, he had devotees write them and hang them in the ashram in the early days. But these qualities will be tested in our life. Just go through all these qualities. I mean, just day by day, it will be tested. So you could say, because of that, it will be easy to gauge, okay, well, how well am I doing in a particular quality? Like, all right, control of the senses, well, that will be tested. or desiring respect, for example, that will be tested. It will be tested. Like how much, okay, I don't get a particular amount of respect that I think I deserve. How does that affect my mind? How do I process that? It could be an interesting experience, dealing with that. Anyway, so all these qualities could be tested. So in that way, it's good. We get a clear idea, or not influenced by the Lord's illusory energy. These are things could be practically tested. So the idea is that we should want to develop these qualities, know what they are, and try to develop them. And of course, the most important being surrendering to Krishna, for the pleasure of our spiritual master, for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada, so we could be good representatives. And this should be our focus. Because, for example, one may take second initiation. It's good thing to do. Gaudiya Vaishnavism, it's very wonderful. Wonderful processes in that we have the ability, or there's Krishna on the altar, and you could go on the altar and you could dress Krishna, you could offer patram pushpam palam, fruits, flowers, you could get close to the deities. It's very wonderful. So if one could do that, that's their great fortune. But just taking second initiation and not having the qualities, that's not so good. Just like we talk about, we'll have a big class on Vaishnava Aparad, big seminar, and then we go out on the patio, and 5 minutes after the class, there's a Vaishnava Aparad altercation. I've seen some pretty bad ones here. Not recently, over the last, I've been 17 years here, but I've seen some pretty bad altercations. But in recent times, the devotees have been quite peaceful in that regard, so good. But okay, fine. We may want to accept for service certain positions. Okay, second initiation, very good. Head of this department, head of that department. Okay, very, very good. It's all necessary. It's all needed. To be an organization means we have to have people step up, whether they like it or not. But we should also focus on, okay, I need to develop the qualities. I need to have the necessary qualities. It's a very important aspect. So does anybody have any question? I think. Sorry,
No, you answered my question.
Actually, I thought about it, and what I should have said is, because you were asking me, should I ask now or later? And what I should have said is, I should have said, well, you could decide, because I shouldn't decide. But
No, I appreciate that. But I was thinking,
You
know
wanna-
where you want to go with the class. You have a theme. I can wait. So I was fine. Don't worry about that. We're not going to have a violent altercation after class. I agree with you.
okay.
I can tell you what I was thinking. You can see if I want to say more. I was thinking, well, what about Mother Teresa? And then I was thinking, what about, who's the guy, Albert Schweitzer? You know, of course, nobody even remembers him. But then I was thinking, every figure that I could think of who was actually, you could make a case for their being selfless, they were all religious figures. So to the degree that they're devotees, they develop those qualities. I was trying to think of somebody else, and then you answered as, you know, it's just temporary and whatever. So I was very satisfied with your answer.
Okay, thank you.
And the comments by the other devotees.
Yeah, it's amazing because someone could be doing a lot of good in many ways. Yeah, what is good, right? Like they say, okay, we give charity like a Thanksgiving time, right? People, they give charity. Yeah. So what they do is they have this huge, I mean, I've never been there, but I've heard about it. Here in San Diego, they have some type of huge hall where people sit, they set up tables and people sit there and everything for Thanksgiving. And then they feed people who, I don't know, maybe they could afford it, but they want a free meal or whatever. Just, people, maybe they can't afford it. So they feed a bunch of people. So the idea is like a charitable act, and you get a bunch of volunteers and everything. And at Thanksgiving, and they're just, we know what Thanksgiving is. It means there's a bunch of poor turkeys, right, that are sacrificed. So in the name of good, they're doing this. Say the intention, so whatever, trying to help people, charity, but then the actual application is, like at the Tucson temple, they had the pictures with the turkey. It was a turkey, and people were embracing the turkey. Kind of interesting pictures. Or, for example, one devotee was saying how he was at a Kumbh Mela one time, and he was just curious what this person was saying. He was giving some person, dressed up, saffron or whatever, big beard. He's giving a talk. Okay, let me just see what this person's saying. So he sat there and he listened to him, and it was pretty good. The talk was good. It was like Vaisnava philosophy. Okay, you're not the body, and okay, we need to get out of the cycle of birth and death, and on and on and on, mentioning Krishna. And so the devotee's saying, oh, pretty good. But then at the very end, the guy said, and the goal is we all want to become one with that God. And then he's like, oh, just... Or this devotee was also mentioning how when he was a young seeker, he was on a boat, and he was reading this book, and it sounded very good. It was just like also very inspiring. And then at one particular point, it said something like that, like towards the end, like that was a conclusion. Just like Hiranyakashipu, he's preaching all this philosophy, and then what was his conclusion? I mean, wasn't Vaishnava conclusion by his. He wanted to kill Vishnu and torture all of the Brahmins and his son and everything, terrorize the whole universe. That was his conclusion. So anyways, this devotee was reading this book, and at the end it had this bad conclusion, and he was on a boat, he just got the book and just threw it right over onto the... Similarly, I mean, like we mentioned the other day about this super popular religious preacher in America and his comment about the kingdom of God, and that, okay, I'll serve God for 100 years and then after that I'll enjoy. That was his comment. Right? So up until that point, I'm sure he's making very good points. I mean, a lot of these preachers are very intelligent and they know the whole art of speaking and convincing people and all that, but just towards these conclusions are like this person. All right, I'll just give one more because I don't want to give too much, but how many did I already give? I gave boat one, I gave Kumbh Mela one, I gave this big religious preacher. So anyways, one more, that another very big figure in the world, and a religious figure in America, preacher, I mean, makes so many good points. He's written best-selling books and organized so many churches, and he's really doing in many ways well. And he's a very smart person. But it's interesting. I mean, he put out some book in which, okay, he's advertising, okay, how to live a clean life, good diet, getting exercise, and he's trying to encourage, preach in that way, how to live a holistic life and all that. And as part of it, he puts, recipes in the book. and they're not sattvic recipes. But it's interesting. I mean, such an intelligent person in so many ways, and just that conclusion is off. So it's important that this is called tattva vibhrama. It's like a Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about this different anartas. One of the anartas is having wrong philosophical conclusions, or just bewildered, philosophical conclusions. Very troublesome, actually, thing. So we have to be careful about that as well. I think Javita Prabhu has something, and then Veer Chandra.
Yeah, just a real quick comment. If you just think back a few verses, and to the only way to put it, the Sri Hiranyakashipu Gita. He was doing. First of all, he was solacing his bereaved nephews and sister-in-law, which is good. And what he was speaking was right out of the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, practically.
Yeah.
That you're not the body. Everyone's like that. And he's Sri Hiranyakashipu. But when you see in context. All right, we're done with that now. Now let's take over the universe, and
yeah.
And so it's like that. Where you have, it looks pretty good, but then when you dig a little deeper under the surface, it's so-called goodness in the service of some demonic motive.
Yeah.
And that these skillful preachers you talked about, the so skillful at the mega churches, they have so many people and. But the old thing is, you can be rich, you can get wealthy, materially wealthy, and they flaunt that. They have not just one airplane; they have 10 airplanes, and it's insane. So when you look a little deeper over time, you see the flaw.
Yeah, there's one. Also, anyways, one more. But there's one fellow. He's from India, and I mean, he's claiming to practice Vaishnavism, and he dresses, like, Oh, he's from Mauritius, okay. So he's claiming to practice Vaishnavism, and anyways, he dresses like a Vaishnava and teaches many Vaishnava principles, and has quite a following, actually. A lot of young people from all over the world. Europeans and Americans, and just a lot of young people. Also, he's attracting Indian people. But and of course, I was making the point to Mogalila, if we changed our philosophy, you didn't have to follow any principles, and you're all God, and maybe it might have a bigger following also. But under all of that, worshiping deities, chanting kirtan mantras, dressing like traditional dress and all that. Behind all that, digging deeper, it's a Mayavad thing. It's we're all God, and but you don't wearing tilak and everything, but you don't see it on the surface. You gotta cinch. Okay, Veer Chandra.
Thank you for the class.
Thank you.
My question is that yes, we can see many examples, like you mentioned, that. In the beginning, very nice qualities, but in the end, bad conclusion. And many people can't, distinguish this, or even not see this conclusion.
Yes.
And so, I understand Srila Prabhupada sometimes in purpose speaks that we should fight with like these people. No, how we say.
Reveal their real identity, uncover, expose them.
She said we should expose. Prabhupada was saying that.
Yes, and we can see that in internet many different teachings, everything. But how we can do it?
Okay, so one time Satsrup Das Goswami, he wanted to write a book. I mean, Maharaj wrote many books. He's like It's not one time he wanted to write a book. He wanted to write a book, 200 times, and he did it. But anyways, he had an idea of a book, and he presented to Srila Prabhupada. And the book was, he was going to go through the different gurus by name. And then he was going to explain how they're wrong. That was the book. And then Prabhupada said, oh no, he said you shouldn't do this. And then Prabhupada said that if you hit a skunk, your hand will smell, So maybe that's Prabhupada. But as Srila Prabhupada would demonstrate for us, he would say, like for example, someone would ask, oh, what do you think about so-and-so? Sometimes Prabhupada would say, oh, who is that? Like, almost always. Yeah. In other words, like kind of like, oh, that person's putting less importance on that person. Oh, who is that? And then Prabhupada would say, okay, well, what is their philosophy? And then they would tell their philosophy, and Prabhupada would go point by point, say establishing the Vaishnava conclusion and how it makes more sense. And Prabhupada would sometimes stick to a point. Actually, many times he would stick to a point, just like if you see that interview between him and the priest of France, right? Yeah. So Prabhupada was sticking to the point about, okay, thou shalt not kill. And Prabhupada said, oh, I'm just like a karate master. I just, I find a point, and a weak point, and I just can tell. So he was doing that with this priest, and so that's another method to, and this priest, he was wanting to go on. He was saying, no, let's move on to more important topics. And Prabhupada never moved on, actually. The whole talk, Prabhupada didn't move on, and so he was sticking to that point. And then can't we talk about higher principles? Yeah, can we talk about higher principles? And Prabhupada said, unless you understand this principle, there's no question of higher principles. You have to understand this. So that's one thing to get the point and try to stick to it too. Yeah.
Prabhupada said, he asked in Detroit. He said, how does a little dog defeat a big dog? Anybody know? Run away. Run away. That's not defeat. It's a smart idea, but it's not that. Bite the ankles? Prabhupada said they bite onto one place and they do not let go. Balarama was saying the same thing. You find a weak point, you don't let them off it. You just keep hammering.
Yeah. So that's one way. And another way is that my spiritual master, he recalls an incident in his life in which he was visiting some devotees, and the mother of this devotee was in the house. She had a very heavy Mayavad tendency. Well, she was a Mayavadi. I mean, let's put that. She didn't have a heavy Mayavad tendency. She was a Mayavadi. So then she was saying all of this, and she was an elderly lady, and then he was thinking, okay, well, how am I supposed to deal with this? And he was saying, okay, well, I say something, and not sure how well that's going to go in this particular circumstance. So what his conclusion was is that he gave them Srila Prabhupada's book. She gave her Srila Prabhupada's book and said, you can read this book, and then Prabhupada will do his magic. Yeah. In this particular case. Now there may be other cases in which you could personally, and I'm sure there's other cases in his life where he, like for example, he went to Madras and he was there, and there was one. He was making life members. Life member means, okay, you go there, you say, would you like to become a life member, and present all the reasons. And you become a life member, you get all of Srila Prabhupada's books, you could stay in the temples throughout the world, 3 days at a time, and so on. So he went to one man, and the man was challenging him, and he was saying, what do you feel about Shankaracharya? And then my spiritual master, he had it in his mind that, okay, well, because he's had a lot of circumstances in Madras, because there are a lot of impersonalists there, and a lot of people were given advice that just mellow out with this criticism of impersonalism, demigod worship. Why can't you be like the Gaudiya Math in Madras? Everybody likes them. They do their festival once, Janmashtami, and then so he was going back in his mind, and he wrote a letter to Prabhupada about it. So then, in the meantime, between him writing the letter and getting the letter, he met this man. The man was saying, what do you think about Shankaracharya? And then my spiritual, he was thinking, all right, I'm gonna. And he said, well, we respect him as an acharya. But the man kept on pressing, and then eventually he said, well, he's an impersonalist, and he's actually coming as Shankar. He's an incarnation of Shiva, and he's come to cheat the people. And he went on this whole thing, and then he got his suitcase, and he was walking out. And collected his papers and his suitcase, and he was walking out. And the man said, no, wait. I want to show you my altar room. And then my spiritual master was thinking that, okay, now he's going to have a Shiva lingam. I don't offer my obeisances. He's going to be disturbed. And so he said, okay. And then he went to his altar room. And then in the altar room, he walked in, and to his surprise, there was these very beautiful Radha-Krishna deities, beautiful Radha-Krishna deities, and he offered his obeisances, and then he looked at the person like surprised. He said, "What?" And then the fellow said, "Well, actually, I'm a devotee of Krishna, and I was just testing you to see what you would say. So you've passed the test, and I'll become your life member." So anyways, he went back to the Juhu temple, or he went back to the Juhu property that day, and then in the mail he got a letter from Srila Prabhupada. And he read that letter, and then in the letter said, an excerpt of that letter said, "Yes, it is true that I am the only person in all of India to be criticizing demigod worship and personalism and anything less than full surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead." And then he said, I expect all of my disciples to follow and the same. So, and then that was a confirmation. So, anyways, so there's different ways. About criticizing, Prabhupada said, one last thing. He said he was on a morning walk, and of course this was, 40 years ago with his young disciples, but he was on a morning walk, and then he stopped, and he looked at the disciples, and he said, "Criticizing is a great art." And he said, in which you do not know. He was, but the idea is to learn that, And as Prabhupada said, sometimes we learn by experience. So Prabhupada said that good judgment comes from what is it? Good judgment comes from experience. Yeah, good judgment comes from experience, and experience comes from bad judgment. So in other words, by going through certain experiences, this is the case sometimes. Of course, we can learn from hearing too, but sometimes many times we have to experience. But we should try as far as possible to learn by hearing. Yeah. There's certain things you say to people and certain things you don't say. I'll just tell you one instance of mine on book distribution, so that book distributors will never say this. It was a number of years ago. I think I was a teenager still, and I was in the temple. I was out distributing books at a mall. So then I go up to this, and please forgive me if anybody's online or whatever. I don't know. It was younger, and it was a mistake, and I never did it again. But I went up to this couple, and I said, there's a lady, and she was older, and there was a man there, and they're a couple, and I went up to him and I said, "Oh, hey, how's it going? We're distributing these books," and I told the man, I said, "Oh, is this your mom? So it was a wrong line, and it wasn't his mom. They're couples, his wife. he was very disturbed, and she was more, not so disturbed. It seemed, anyways. But I tried to, continue despite that awkwardness and tried to give him a book. But yeah, he didn't take a book. So, anyways, I hope he gets another chance in the future to meet devotees. But all right. So, any last? Okay.
Hare Krishna.
All right. Yes.
Balaram Prabhu, may I?
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. You're most kind. Dandavat pranams. Prabhu, the quote from the purport to the text you chose for today goes as follows. Quote, on the other hand, harāv abhaktasya kuto mahad-guṇāḥ. If one is not a devotee, even if he has some materially good qualities, they have no value. That is the verdict of the Vedas. Unquote. So based on this quote, how do you accommodate Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 5, Karma Yoga Action in Krishna Consciousness, the text which goes as follows. I have it here. Text 18. The humble sages, by virtue of true knowledge, see with equal vision a learned and gentle brahmana, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog-eater outcast. That is my question.
Did you? Because I didn't fully catch.
He's thinking of this. We're supposed. How is it we see everyone equally? A dog, an elephant, an outcast, and yet we're saying this person has good qualities. This person.
Oh.
Has bad. But he's missing the point that the vision is to see the soul. That we have.
Yeah. So we see equal. Okay, there's a soul. There's the soul there, the super soul. So Vaishnava they see equal but for the purpose of preaching, that's one reason we see these distinctions. We make distinctions. Like Srila Prabhupada will end with this: is that he was meeting with some Indian fellows in India, and they came to Srila Prabhupada and they were challenging him. They were saying every acharya has given some contribution, some unique contribution. What is your contribution? They're challenging him, and they went as far as he said. Well, Srila Prabhupada said, I have presented things clearly, and I have presented Vyasadev's message clearly. And then they said, well, who is this Vyasadeva? They said that. And then Prabhupada said, well, so what type of question, who is this Vyasadeva? How can I discuss with some, Indian guy, how can I, what is... So they were pressing him, okay, what is your contribution? And then they started to say, oh, Swamiji, you're criticizing everybody. This Swami, that Swami, this leader, that leader, you're criticizing everybody. The Bhagavad Gita says that you should see equally, right? And he quoted the verse that was just quote, Samadarshanaha. And then Prabhupada said, well, I'm not claiming to be Samadarshana. That's a high level. I'm not claiming that. I see the differences. I see that this person's a rascal and he's not surrendering to Krishna, and they need to surrender. So then the person was, and then they said, well, what is your contribution? What is your contribution? I kept on pressing, and then Prabhupada said, I have made Krishna consciousness available to the whole world. And then he said, this is my Samadarshana, my equal vision that I preach to the whole world. So, anyways, we'll end with that happy, positive note. Okay.
Namam dushkritano mudha pabadyande nararama. Krishna says himself, one who doesn't surrender to me is a rascal, he's the lowest of mankind. And Prabhupada says, don't blame me. I'm just repeating what Krishna said.
Yes, exactly. Okay, Grunta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.